and welcome to the Real Biz Life Chronicles, where we discuss all things business, branding, and life. I'm your host, Tracy Fryer. I'm very excited today as we are introducing the Transformative Health Evidence-Driven Insights for Women. Now, there's a number of reasons for us introducing this series into the podcast, which we will touch on more in a moment. But on a personal note, the reason for introducing this series, I've had an absolutely incredible health journey with both of these lovely ladies I'm about to introduce you to. And I just want to take a moment to celebrate you for giving yourself this hour to really gain some insight that I know from personal experience is going to absolutely change your life. And I'm so excited for you. So without further ado, I'd like to introduce Palomi Hitami from MyGene and Jessica Bowman from Wellness on Yorks. Ladies, welcome.
Thanks a lot, Tracy. How are you?
I'm good. Thank you. Welcome, Jess.
Thank you so much for having me, and hope you girls are both well.
Definitely. I am looking forward to tonight. And like I said before, I absolutely know that you ladies have got so much valuable insight that you're going to share with our viewers. I thought what we could do is potentially touch on why we are hosting this live webinar. And also, I'd love for you ladies to give an introduction to yourselves to our viewers as well. Paloma, we'll start with you.
Yes, hi, Tracy. I think the journey started a couple of years ago when you and I started working together with the MyGene program and the transformation that you had. And of course, we've kept in touch with each other over the last, I'd say, year and a half, actually. It was a great journey. And here we are talking about female health in particular, because in our practice, we find that is probably more neglected than male health. And so on that note, I also introduced myself. My name is Paloma Hitami, and I am the founder of MyGene as well as Therapath Medical. Anyone who's interested can go online and have a look at our website, either mygene.com.au or therapath.com.au.
Thank you. Jess.
Hi, I'm excited to be here. So my name is Jess, and I've created a lovely business here on the York Peninsula called Wellness on Yorks. I do a little bit of everything. I'm all about optimal health and wellness, and we love diving into the sort of the evidence-based approaches as well. I do work one-on-one in person, but I'm also going online as well, so I can help a lot of people online. And of course, working with you lovely ladies here doing this is another way we can reach a lot more women and help them. And so I'm really excited.
Thank you. For those of you that haven't met me, I'm Tracy Fryer. My other business is Design Studio Perth, and we help our clients grow with distinction through captivating branding and design. So, look, we'll kick off the evening. The reason that I was so called to host this webinar with Paloma and Jess is that because I think there's so many misconceptions and misunderstanding, especially around women's health. I tried so many different things in my life to, number one, not just lose weight, but to also feel my best self. I was so sick of being sick and tired, feeling groggy, feeling run down. And I think, you're really in the presence of two very powerful ladies who, with their combined experience, will really help you reach a state of health like you've never experienced before. So, Paloma, I thought what we could do is maybe you could touch on how you work with your clients. I don't mind if you use me as an example, and just really the insights that you shared with me and how it really impacted my health journey.
Yes, of course, Tracy. And you're a bit of an outlier because you complied with everything. So you're a perfect client, I guess. So what we do, we started as a genetics laboratory. So we work with a company called DNA IQ that actually own the laboratory, and a scientist that we work with who's a molecular biologist who basically helps us put together evidence-based genetic testing. So as you know, everyone knows about genetic testing, but there is a lot of misconceptions about what it does, what information. A lot of people are afraid of it. So what we've put together is a panel of information on about 648,000 SNPs, and perhaps that doesn't mean very much to a lot of people, but it's quite a lot. that we decipher, and we put together a machine learning program that we started developing about 8 years ago, before machine learning became kind of the phrase of the day, or AI became the phrase of the day. And this program has been learning for the past 8 years, and it's got a number of databases that it constantly updates with. So overnight, everything gets updated. And at the moment, it's got probably about 50 million or 60 million peer-reviewed scientific papers at its disposal. So we get people's genetic information, which is just a simple swab in the mouth, and we extract the DNA, and then we run the raw data through this program. And it comes up with very, very precise, personalized information, which is getting better and better every single day. And then we also collate people's bloods. So we have a list of panel of bloods which are not normally done in GP practices. So we ask for a lot of extra information, and then we collate the two plus a very, very informative questionnaire. And then together we've got a lot of information on a person, which we can then put together and see where the, I suppose, weak spots are, and how they can transform that into something a lot better. So we say that genetics don't predispose, they don't predetermine. So it's about nurture versus nature versus nurture. So your genetics is nature, and what you do with it and how it affects your genes is nurture. So what we do is we try to bring your genes back in line with the environment that it's used to. Because as you know, or you may not know, mutations take about 10,000 years. So we haven't really evolved that much from 10,000 years ago. So it's very important to go look at how we've evolved and try to implement some of those things, some of those interventions that will help us function better as humans, not just in terms of our body, but also cognitively, because of course they're interrelated.
Thanks, Paloma. Can you guys still hear me? I see my screen has gone black.
I can see you, Tracy, but you've just
good. Okay.
frozen, but we can still see you.
No problem. I'll keep talking. Good old technology and the Perth rain. Thank you, Paloma. Jess, I'd love to know how, I know you've worked with Paloma alongside her in terms of what she does and your program. Can you walk us through how the two connect together?
Can you say that again? Sorry, Tracy.
Yeah, so having worked with Paloma and her program, how does your program tie into what she does?
Oh, yes. So I look at the whole body, so the body as a whole system. And I believe very much that we need to look at all aspects of the whole system. So, for example, if you're just focusing on your exercise and your training, but you're not really focusing on your mindset or your cognitive function or your diet, then there's holes in the system. So, to be optimal, we need to get all of those things kind of working optimal. And so, the way that it ties in with what Paloma is offering is that it allows us to find optimal for the individual. I hate the word normal and normal ranges. If those who work with me, they hear me say, pardon my French, fuck normal, be optimal. We want to go from striving to thriving. But, we get put into these, containers of this is normal here and that's normal. But, that doesn't mean that it's going to be great for us. So we work together, and I work with my program to using the evidence-based protocols to go, what is optimal for you as an individual, and how do we get there? So it's as best as you can get for information on you. It's an internal blueprint for you, and we believe it's the most effective and fastest way to get results.
Great. Sorry, guys. I'm still having some tech problems, but anyway, I'll speak away. Paloma, I'd love to know, well, for both of you, what are some of the misconceptions around women's health?
And that's a really, really great question, Tracy. And I actually recently came across a book, which I'm so embarrassed because I read so many books, and somehow, how did I miss this amazing book, which of course, I think I told Jess and yourself about it as well, called Eve by Kat actually I'll show it. Bohannon. It's an amazing book for anybody who hasn't seen or read this book. It was actually a New York Times bestseller. And she actually talks about the female body and the evolution of the female body. And as I was reading this book, it just dawned on me how little I know about my own body. And then I started thinking about, well, how is it there? How does this relate to what we do? And understanding more about my body, I can then relate to why it is that women as well don't take up some of these interventions and some of these programs that we do, not as often as men do. So we tend to have more men as clients, and they tend to kind of run with these programs and get fantastic results. Whereas with women, we find a little bit more difficult, and not because women are not interested, but because traditionally in science, medicine, and every other aspect, women have always kind of been secondhand citizens, unfortunately. And this is not to have a go at patriarchy, but
of course, yeah,
the way things are that and this book actually covers this. That, for example, in clinical trials, most of the clinical trials are done. In fact, all of them prior to year 2000 were done on male subjects only, and people don't know this. So I didn't know this. I didn't know that the subjects from mice all the way to dogs, pigs, primates, and humans are male subjects are used because it's a lot easier. The data is easier to collect because they don't go through a menstrual cycle, and there is no there's no change in the physiology of the male over the course of the clinical trial, as the same doesn't happen to women. Obviously, we go through hormonal shifts, and that becomes more complex as a study. And so, but it's been proven again and again and again that women respond completely differently to drugs. For example, pain medication. Women have a much higher pain threshold. Surprise, surprise. And women are given the same one-size-fits-all drugs. Same goes with Alzheimer's medication. Same goes with pretty much every medication that is widely available on the market. And interestingly, women are prone to die from heart attacks a lot more than men, not because they have more heart attacks, but because the symptoms are different to men's symptoms, and doctors don't actually pick up on those. So there is a massive chasm between what basically scientific literature, drugs, pretty much everything that we are doing and consuming, etc., between the male and the female dispensing of these things, as well as most of these things are actually geared towards men, not women. So, and if you kind of expand on that, you see that with a lot of other things as well. And the fact that women have socialized to always look after everybody else first, first their,
so true.
Kids, then their parents or brothers and sisters, siblings, friends, animals, whatever it may be. And often women put themselves last. So, and the confidence level of women, because the first thing that women ask us is, when we put the questionnaire together, one of the primary things is weight loss. Whereas for men, it's, optimizing their health, cognitive function, blah, 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 blah. And that's also driven by societal norms about how women are meant to look like, and in terms of their body shape, et cetera, et cetera. So if you kind of collate all that together, it's understandable. And also, the fact that most of the bio-optimization and anti-aging movement, most of the kind of doctors that are pushing this forward, or pretty much all men, and the primary objectives are kind of male optimization in terms of their, hormone levels, testosterone, muscle mass, protein synthesis, et cetera, et cetera. So it makes it a bit daunting for women to look at all this and say, oh, well, this is, very masculine. They feel like, if we talk about biooptimization, or we talk about certain medications like peptides, for example, or even hormones or whatever, even testosterone, it's kind of alien to women. And that shouldn't be the case, because women actually produce more testosterone than men, but it immediately converts to estrogen, progesterone. And as we age, our testosterone level goes down. So it's really, really important for women to be cognizant of that fact, and the fact that testosterone helps with development of your muscles. Your heart is a muscle, after all, and the risk of sarcopenia goes up, which means that, as you get sarcopenia, which is basically muscle wastage, you start developing osteoporosis and a host of other things. You're much more prone to falling down. So but these things are not generally discussed. And if you go to your medical doctor and you ask for specific things, unless you know what you're asking for and you've done the research, it's not in the realm of, generally not in the realm of the medical establishment to be optimizing female health. They just tell you, here's your blood, you're within normal range. And as Jess says, I don't want to be within normal range. I want to be younger than the normal range, because normal range is geared for sick people, not healthy people. So it's really, really important that women get the knowledge and have the confidence to be able to take up these interventions and optimize themselves, because we are the glue of society, right? Without us, everything falls apart. So so that's I guess in a bit of a nutshell what we do, and also why it is that we decided to do this podcast, to be able to actually help women optimize their health and do some bio-optimization. Yeah.
Definitely. And Jess, what's your thoughts? What are some of the misconceptions, I guess, around women's health in your space?
I think Paloma touched on that. Great. I work with more women than I do men. Mostly women are my clients. I think women, you're right, we tend to put ourselves last and give and do all these things for other people. And what I want to point out is that while it's great to do all these amazing things for other people, you really have to fill your own cup first. And sometimes we feel guilty or we feel bad by choosing ourselves or going to do this thing, choosing the gym or choosing the healthy eating or whatever it is. And we might think that we're giving 100%, but if we're only running at 40% capacity, right, and we don't even really know that we're sitting, because sometimes you become so used to being run down and busy and doing everything for everyone else that you don't even know that you've really reduced your baseline and you're sitting well optimal, right? So you think you're giving 100% to everybody else, but if you're only running at 40% of your capacity, you're giving 100% of 40%. Imagine if you look after yourself, you get yourself functioning well, then you've got 100% of you running well, and you've got so much more to give. Everything works better. You become better mothers, better lovers, better partners, better siblings, better daughters, all of these things when we're feeling amazing. And sometimes we lose touch of that, and it can happen slowly over time. So what I love is slowly implementing these beautiful biohacks and, stacking these beautiful habits and getting people to start to feel better. And then you just grow on that, right? You add a little bit more. And then through experience and through trialing and erroring, women go, oh my God, I feel so much better. I've got more energy, or I didn't realize I was sleeping better, until you feel these things. Sometimes I hear so much from clients when I ask them, how are they sleeping? Yeah, I sleep great. Probably 90% of people do not sleep great. They're hitting the pillow, they're zoning out or zonking out. How many people wake up fully refreshed, jump out of bed and ready to start the day? That's how you know you're sleeping. Do you know what I mean? So there's a bit of a gap there. And I think I love, we both love the moment when somebody goes, oh my God, I feel better, or I feel more alert, or that's what I love. And that's what I want to bring. And that's why I'm in this sort of thing that we're doing, so that we can show people what we know, what we know works and the evidence behind it, and get people living optimally and thriving. And that's why I'm here.
I think a big one that you touched on is also that consistency, because I think, the culture and society that we live in nowadays, we want instant gratification, right? We want to drop the 10 kilos like that. We want to have the 6-pack like you do, Jess, the next day. And I think something for me that really, really helped was just kind of pushing through those different phases. And you're right, at certain points on this journey that I've been on, you do actually feel your whole livelihood elevate as well. So it's really good to not expect to drop the 10 kilos within a week, but just understand that it's delayed gratification, but it definitely does happen. And there were times I thought, oh my gosh, I think I've messaged Paloma. I'm like, I've plateaued. What's happening? Like, I'm trying everything. I'm still gymming. And then eventually something just kicks in. So I guess what I'd love to know from you ladies is perhaps some advice, for someone who is thinking of starting a health journey. What's the type of mindset that's required, for the long term to essentially change your life? Paloma, did you want to kick us off?
Yeah, that's a great question, Tracy. So I always say there's no magic pill. Although I have to say lately with the new peptides like Ozempic and Mounjaro, there's
yes.
It seems like there is a magic pill. And we're just getting better and better. Like the anti-aging movement is come leaps and bounds in the last few years. So much so that I would predict in the next 5 to 10 years we will be able to actually clinically reverse our age. We know that we can do that already with various different things, but we will be able to do it so much better and so much more targeted, as well as be able to measure it quite well. I mean, there are measurements available at the moment, but they're not so great. So in terms of advice for women, one thing that's really important is that we do work with peptides like Ozempic, Mounjaro, and those weight loss type peptides. But unless you have the base, and I always say, if you want to build a house, you have to pour the concrete, and quite a lot of concrete, to make sure the foundation of the house is really, really strong. So until you have a blueprint to your body, as I always say to people, what type of car you're born with, basically what you respond to, what you don't respond to, what food sensitivities you have, what things you shouldn't be having, how to exercise. Unless you have that blueprint, and then you build on that so that you know what's best for you in terms of your nutrition, your exercise, supplements you should be taking, lifestyle changes, like for example, meditation, etc. You can get these novel and amazing peptides like Mounjaro and Ozempic, etc., and lose the weight, but you're going to go back to starting to yo-yo again, like you do with everything else, unless you have the foundation right. And that's going to be very, very important. Get the foundation, know exactly where you're at, so that when you do lose the weight, you're coupling it with building muscle mass at the same time, which then will help maintain your weight and will help maintain your health overall. It's not just about weight loss; it's about being healthy.
Yes, thank you, Jess.
Yeah, I think consistency is a huge key, and so I try and work out people's why. Understand your why. Why are you doing something, for starters? It's great to have a coach and have all these tools and use, maybe you're getting some assistance from the drugs and whatnot. But if your mindset isn't in check and you don't understand your why, you don't, do the things that plant the foundation, then you're always gonna, get what you want. Then you're gonna go back. Your habits sort of create who you are, what you become. Your thoughts create your reality in a sense. So it's a lot about, yes, use all these tools, grab a coach, or get all these things, but it's a lot of self-coaching too. And I like to remind women that you're going to have days when you might not have access to some of these things, and you're going to have to coach yourself through. You're going to have to pick yourself up and do hard work. Like it's not going to always be easy. You're going to have moments, weeks even, where you're going to see no progress. But if you have a great foundation and you keep your mind in check, and you be consistent. Consistency is a huge part of it. I feel like I say that
Massive.
too much, way too often to people, and I'm always saying consistency. I feel like a broken record sometimes, but seriously, consistency is a huge key. And yeah, that's what I want to stress to people is don't expect results straight away. It's if your goal is weight loss, don't necessarily focus on the weight loss. Maybe focus on optimal living, feeling better. You know, if you can feel great, regardless of where your weight is sitting, for example, it's all going to follow through. If you do things that you love, you understand, you know, your why, understand what you like and what you love, nourish yourself in those ways, move your body. Movement is such a huge medicine as well. You know, eating really beautiful foods, cleaner foods, moving your body heaps. The weight loss becomes a byproduct of that, of feeling amazing, right? Because when you feel, you're more likely to go outside and do all these wonderful things. So if you narrow your focus too much, then you tend to get disheartened a lot by this one thing that's not moving. You know, if you can focus on feeling better, you know, getting some better sleep, hydrating well, these are all the foundations there. Get really amazing at those things, and the rest will take care of itself. The transformation just happens.
Yeah, one of the things that really helped me was I always just say, oh, I don't have enough time. I got up, started getting up earlier, which created the time. But then also before I would exercise, I would actually journal because I found that helped take care of my mindset. And then in there, I would set my goals to go to gym or to, you know, go do Pilates or whatever the case may be. So for me, I found that kind of helped me not negotiate with myself and say, oh, you know, I'll go later or put it off till the end of the day. So is there any other tools you ladies would recommend that someone could potentially use to help keep them motivated and consistent?
So I always tell clients, well, maybe not always, but that's one of my mottos is like you have to have hygiene, and that doesn't mean cleanliness hygiene, sleep hygiene, exercise hygiene, food hygiene. These are all very important. What does that mean? That means that your body likes consistency. So if you can imagine your body being like a 3-year-old child and your mind being the age that you are, and effectively, that's what it is. Our minds dictate what our bodies do, and our bodies have no reprieve against the mind who punishes it with bad self-talk or not doing the right things or eating the wrong food. So look at your body as a 3-year-old child, or as an animal, if you like animals, and as an animal needs consistency, or a child needs consistency, where you got to feed it at a certain time, walk it at a certain time, do things at a certain time. Otherwise, the animal becomes psychotic because it doesn't know when it's going to eat.
Yeah.
It's going to get anxiety. It doesn't know if it's going to starve. Doesn't know if it has to hold itself to go to the toilet or not. Same thing happens to our bodies. When we have consistency in when we eat, your body anticipates when the food window will be, and then it starts making gastric juices for us to be able to digest the food. Now, if you're continuously inconsistent with it, your body's constantly doing that, constantly expending energy trying to do that. And also we become insulin sensitive when that happens. So effectively, anything you have gets stored as fat, basically, unless you're doing exercise. So having that consistency means the body knows when it's going to eat. Having consistency in exercise is exactly the same. Knowing when you're going to exercise, your body gears itself up for it. Now, if you have one day you're doing it this time, another day you're doing it another time, it doesn't have that consistency. Same with sleep. Did you know that 1 or 2 hours of change in your sleep, even one night, will give you effectively jet lag? And people don't know this. That's why if you don't have a window that you're sleeping in, and you're sleeping one night here, one night there, you wake up not feeling great because your body just doesn't know, and therefore it's the beginning of the night that you get generally your deep sleep, and close to the end of the night, or actually throughout the night, you get more REM sleep, but closer to the end of the sleep. So if you're constantly shifting, your body is continuously confused. So consistency is not just for being able to do things and making sure you get things done, but it's actually for the good of this organism being your body, and effectively being like a little child or a little animal that requires that consistency to be optimal in everything from its body to its mind. So
Thanks, Paloma.
sleep hygiene, exercise hygiene.
Yeah. Jess?
Yeah. Not to mention the consistency thing again, but I'm going to. Consistency, absolutely. Just as well, like, say, for instance, you know that you train every day at 6 a.m. At the start, it might be hard, but then eventually your body gets used to it, your body clock will change. I've gone through stages where I've trained consistently, and I've changed it where I've trained in between my clients. So some days recently I would train at like 9 o'clock, and then I'd train at 2 o'clock, and then I might train at 11 o'clock. My body hated it. I found that my energy was sometimes at 11 because it was so used to previously always training at the same time. Your nervous system remembers. So now that my training is always at the same time, relatively within half an hour, even if I'm not feeling like it, the minute I like put my shins, my sleeves on, or, you know, I get my weight belt on, something happens like in the body. My nervous system starts to get, because it knows, all right. And then I always perform amazing no matter how I feel, because it's consistency. My body knows this is what's going to happen. Okay, so you can train your nervous system to respond in the way that you want it to help you. So consistency, definitely. Preparation prevents piss poor performance. So prepare.
Yes.
Have a plan. If you know you're going to the gym early before, have your gym clothes set out nicely. You know, have everything ready to go, because then you've set the intention right. Intention is really powerful. It creates little habits, some little actions, and then when you get to that space the next day, you're more likely to follow through. So prepare, you know, for success, because if you don't prepare for success, you're ultimately preparing for failure, right? So have a plan, follow the plan. Also, if you say you're going to do something, make sure you follow through, because if you tell yourself, I'm going to start tomorrow, I'm going to do this, I'm going to do that, and you don't do those things, you're conditioning yourself basically to shit on yourself. You're not creating trust within yourself. Then you're creating this habit of later, and later does not get shit done, right? If you say you're going to do something, make sure you do it. The more you do, the easier it becomes. And if you honor yourself by keeping your word to you, you know, that's a beautiful boundary to have. You're more likely to not people shit on you either. Do you know what I mean? Like, you're more likely to stand up for yourself, honor yourself. You're going to honor your friends, your family, your loved ones, because you do it for you. Yeah. So one, consistency, have a plan, prepare for success. And they're the two biggest, I think. Yeah.
Yeah, and I guess sort of feeding into what we do with branding and personal brand, like you said before, your confidence actually increases, and I guess your self-worth essentially becomes, you actually value yourself more because you trust in yourself. You know, you're getting up at 5, you put in the hard yards. For me, I know my excuses were the reason I was getting nowhere, and probably my poor dietary choices, which I do want to touch on with you ladies in a moment. But yeah, and even in terms of a personal brand, you know, when you feeling, I guess, fulfilled within yourself and you're feeling confident, you show up so much better. Not even if you're a business owner, if you're a mother, if you know, someone's wife, husband, partner, whatever the case may be, you just feel so much more, I guess, at peace with yourself.
Absolutely.
Something else I wanted to touch on is nutrition, because I know a big one for me was I was eating a lot of the wrong food, a lot of the foods that I thought were, you know, marketed as good for you. But Paloma, you told me when you actually turn over and look at the back of the packaging, what's in there is horrifying. So I'd love for you ladies to share, you know, how important is nutrition. Now, I also want to highlight that just having like a green salad is not enough food. You do actually have to have wholesome foods. I'd love for you ladies to touch on nutrition and the importance of it in this lifestyle change. Paloma?
Yes, of course. I actually, read a quote the other day, which is Jess, I think you should use. It says consistency is the ultimate form of self-love. And I thought that is such a great quote, isn't it?
That is
because
great.
That's true. When you're consistent, you know, exactly everything that you said was right. So I totally concur with you. Sorry, Tracy, I diverged from the diet.
That's fine.
So the CEO of MyGene, her name is Elana Mezzatesta. She is, I suppose, one of my, people that I really look up to, because she's taught me so much about nutrition. Of course, I knew about nutrition, but she is a qualified scientist that specializes in nutrition, and her attention to detail is quite incredible. So together we've kind of worked on these plans, but it's very important to emphasize a number of things. First of all, people are very confused about what diet should I adopt. Like some people say, I feel great, I did the carnivore diet. Some people say, I feel great, I'm a vegetarian, or I'm a vegan, or I don't know, the FODMAP diet, or the whatever diet.
The latest one.
The latest one. And look, that's great if people feel great on it and they want to work on those types of things, but they never yield results for very long. And if they do, you cannot keep up with that for the rest of your life. So what's very, very important is a couple of things to note. First of all, there is no population of humans on the planet, from Eskimos all the way to the Maasai tribes and the tribes in the Amazon jungles. There's not one group of humans that have adopted and have thrived or even done well on a Western industrial diet. Not one. So putting that in one corner, and that is basically the American diet that we have adopted in Australia, fast food diet, packaged foods, effectively anything that is not in the L shape of the supermarket, because that's where they generally put the fresh food. But lately I've noticed that they've cottoned on to that and they've put a lot of other junk there as well. So you see Eskimos subsisting on blubber and meat and fat. They've adopted that diet over thousands of years, and they do well on it, but they don't thrive on it. So they're not long living people, but they still do much better than a Western industrial diet. Equally, the Maasai drink cow blood and cow milk and some meat. That's pretty much their diet, and some honey. Again, they are very, very healthy people, but they've adopted that diet. So if we, for example, have that diet, we're not going to really do very well on it. But if you put the Maasai and put them in a Western industrial diet, they will do very, very poorly. And there's studies done on this where they've taken Nigerian men that have migrated from Nigeria that have adopted the American diet, and then they tested the two groups. One was in Nigeria, one was in America. And the ones in Nigeria had much higher risk and had a higher incidence of prostate cancer and basically all-cause mortality, insulin-resistant heart disease, etc. Whereas the group in Nigeria that had the traditional diet didn't have the same issues, even though they're the same population of people. The difference is that they've migrated. So if we take that and we look at the way we eat food and really define what food is, food in our definition is something that you can see whole. So it's an apple, it's grains in a packet, nothing else. There's no additives, there's no flavor enhancers, there's no chemicals. If it's bread, you buy it from a place that actually makes it. So sourdough, not Baker's Delight. I mean, not to diss Baker's Delight in any way, but there's a lot of additives, etc., that they add. Plus, the wheat isn't ancient grains; it's actually dwarf wheat. That's a whole different discussion. So, when you're looking at food, look at what you're eating as food. When you're looking at it, it should actually be food, and that's the definition for me of food, not something that's packaged, not something that's canned, unless it's just that and nothing else in it, and not something that's completely taken, all of the basically nutrients have been taken off, and then they've added all these vitamins and minerals and call it something. And anything that says low fat, low sugar, healthy, protein rich, blah blah, you are absolutely guaranteed that that's not good for you. Because if they have to market a product as something that's good for you, it means that they've actually devoid of a lot of things and devoid of nutrients, and they're trying to market it to you. So my advice to everyone is look at the back of the package. if it doesn't have the ingredients that you think it should have, and there's chemicals in there that you don't even understand, put that package straight back down.
Yeah.
Look at the back, even bread. Recently, I went to one of the big supermarkets and I was curious to see, okay, there's bread, right? There's flatbreads, there's different types of breads. Let's see what's in these breads. And I was horrified. The only bread that was healthy was the mountain bread, which was right at the bottom of the shelf. And it had
The shelf, yeah.
which was the wheat, water, and salt. And that's it. The rest were laden with chemicals. And the more marketing they had on them, like, healthy, high protein, blah, blah, unhealthier they were. So, and guess what? Whole Foods, no matter what anyone says, is cheaper than those packaged foods. If you actually look at what's in them and what you're paying for, you'll be horrified, gram by gram, what you're being charged for and what they're feeding you. And genetically, our bodies have not evolved to understand or process these chemicals. So our bodies are literally in a constant state of shock when you're putting these things in your mouth. Constant state of shock. So no wonder we're getting so many kind of diseases, which almost 100% are mismatched diseases between our environment and our genetics.
Yeah. And also, I mean, sandwiches is like the go-to for children's school lunch as well. And do you think that's perhaps why we've seen so many different things show up in children as well, because of what they're eating?
I think it's not just what they're eating, it's also the environment. The amount of microplastics now in our waterway, and lots of studies are coming out showing coronary arteries being opened up, clogged full of microplastics, men's testicles, human male testicles, dogs' testicles with microplastics in it. Not to mention it's the body can't recognize the chemicals, so it kind of has an estrogenic effect on male bodies, and so it causes infertility and a host of other issues for men and women and for children that are not just exposed to that, but even household chemicals. So recently, I don't know if you heard or saw the 3M fiasco, the company 3M. They just fined it was the largest fine in the history of basically Western civilization. I think it was billions of dollars, because they have known for 40 years, and they produce this particular chemical they use in Teflon. So anything that's got Teflon on it is carcinogenic. They've known it's carcinogenic, and they call them forever chemicals. So they stay in the system, in the waterway, and in your body forever. And so they've known about this, and they've basically been hiding this from people. And that's fine in the US. There's going to be class actions all over the world. So
everywhere.
And I'm not saying this to make everybody feel depressed, but to say we're exposed to so many chemicals. By limiting the chemicals that we use at home and what we eat, at least we are giving our children and ourselves a chance. So don't clean with bleach and chemicals in the house, make your own. I make all of my own chemicals. So I make cleaners, I should say, not chemicals. Because I limit that for myself and my household pets, because they're very susceptible to chemicals. So I guess let's see what Jess has to say about all this as well.
Yeah, Jess.
So definitely agree with everything that you said, Paloma, most definitely. And I know it can be really overwhelming for people as well when we start to talk about some of this stuff. And it can be easy just to close your eyes and look away and ignore some of these things. But, our bodies are really, really great at detoxing a lot of things. So I'm in a place where I'm trying to help people where it's like, let's limit the amount of stuff we put in our bodies, and the things that we can't avoid, let our bodies spend the time and energy sort of detoxing those things. So when there's so many different ways you can look at it, it's such a complex topic, but let's just put it in a health and wellness type of way where we're looking at weight loss, mindset, gut health, if you're eating these highly processed foods, you're hurting your gut health. You're spiking your glucose, which is what you don't want to be doing. You're also eating high energy food. So there's a lot of energy going in. It's not satiating. It's not going to, it's going to give you a big, huge spike of energy, but it's going to make you crash hard. And then you're going to go on this roller coaster of up and down, right? So the earlier in the day that you spike your glucose, you're basically jumping on a roller coaster for the whole day. And it's really, really hard to get off unless you're really, really disciplined and really, really strict and you've been doing it a while. So, it's what is your goal? What are you trying to achieve? And does your food match that goal? So, and if your goal is to feel better, to live longer, to lose some weight, to have cognitive function, all of these things, then choosing those foods is really not supporting your goal. And there's definitely a place for it, absolutely. But the more you can start to cut these things out, the better you'll feel, the better your body will perform. Eating whole foods is going to, you're going to need less of it as well. So
that's so true.
More. You don't need as much. Most people don't get nowhere near enough fiber in their diet. And then we're spiking our glucose like crazy, which that's another whole topic itself. Like you could spend hours just talking about that.
Yes.
Then you've got the sugar cravings, you're wanting more of those foods. And so I'm the same. When I do my meal plans for people, very rarely will you see anything in a packet in there at all, unless somebody's heavily on that and we're basically weaning them off of it. It's always, cook your own foods at home, prepare, plan, try and keep away from it because I know it's marketed really well and, stand up and try not to be those people that, buy into that. It's almost a form of brainwashing, if that makes sense. Beautiful packaging, stand against it and just say, no, I don't want to be controlled by very well marketing food products anymore. So, and give it a go.
Yeah.
Try eating a little bit cleaner for a while. See for yourself. I guarantee you, once you experience it and you feel great and you've got lots of energy and you're eating less and the cravings will subside and you won't be on this roller coaster of, wanting to get these foods in your body, you will feel amazing afterwards. So I just say give it a go and see for yourself. Become your own scientist.
And I think something really important that you highlighted there was to kind of wean yourself off certain things because I think some people are like, right, New Year's resolution, I'm going to jump on the health wagon, I'm cutting out chocolate, wine, everything. And then you relapse because it's too much change too soon. So I think it's great that you've recommended people slowly wean themselves off things.
It has to be sustainable. You can't change 100 things at once. You might get really good at it for a week or two, but the minute life gets busy, work, something happens in the family or your work life, it'll all just fall down around you. Small things. Don't be in a rush. Add more water into your diet. Cut out, the second coffee at the cafe. Stop having, pizza twice a week. Slowly change it. Start to feel better slowly and go from there. And then, when you want to go out with your family or friends and you have those things, make them a sometimes food. Sometimes foods has now gone from being once every week or once every 2 weeks to like every day, every second day, or even twice a day. There's a place for it, in terms of general health and wellness, try and aim for 80% of that to be what your goal is, to eat, to thrive, to eat, to perform, to be optimal. And then have your pleasure moments. We're humans. We love pleasure, right? Have the moments with your friends and your family and indulge into that, but make the rest of it amazing and supporting your body. So then, the 20% that you don't follow it, it's not so detrimental. But when we're doing it every day, it's just breaking down. And it's going to take a lot longer than 6 months, even up to 12 months for your body to start to heal properly. If you've been eating these things and doing these things for years and years and years, please be patient and don't expect it to happen in a couple of weeks or a couple of months. And it's going to plateau and you're going to have to problem solve and find a way to keep it happening. And that's part of the journey as well. Like, this is why I'm loving what we're doing, that we can help people in this way. Like, don't give up, stay with it, be consistent, learn as much as you can. Knowledge is potential power as well. Yeah.
Something I experienced was obviously I'd been eating quite clean and I still have a treat every now and then, don't get me wrong, but I made the mistake probably a year in of having a McDonald's, and oh my gosh, I got so sick from it, like because my body's used to all this healthy food and that. So it goes to show how much crap is actually in there, because I was violently ill from it as well, and it was not enjoyable. And it's almost like your mind shifts again into, well, I can either choose to have a salmon with whatever the case may be, or I can go to McDonald's, but I'm actually going to the next day is not going to be nice at all. So ladies, I know we could chat forever, and this is why I love you guys. I am mindful of time. I thought what we can do is move into a live Q&A session. And then for our listeners and our viewers, we will be holding this series probably every 6 to 8 weeks. So if there is any topics you'd like us to touch on, please feel free to either reach out to one of us or pop it in the chat now, and we'll make note of it as well. What we'll do is we'll move over to our questions. Just pop over here. Great. So the first one we have is, how much exercise per day would be ideal to keep my mom healthy? She is 63. Is there a certain step count amount that is ideal? Jess, did you want to kick us off? Thank you,
sure.
Rudy.
That's a really great question. And so I think it's quite individualized as well. Like how much movement is she adding into her life now? What kind of movement and functionality does she require? I think everyone should move every day. We're not meant to be sitting down. But the key is to add it in slowly as well. So taking up a sport like golf or bowls or something like that is a really great way to move. But I definitely recommend, regardless of of age, is that everyone should be moving every day. And try and go through all of the zones. Going for a nice walk and hitting your zone 2 is great. Try and add a little bit more higher intensity in there. Listen to your body as well, and slowly build it up. But definitely something every day is advisable for sure. No specific step count as such, but listening to the body as well. But I would probably start to recommend around 5,000 to 10,000 steps. Again, it depends on what they're already doing, okay? And what their goal is as well. Do they want to be losing weight? Do they want to just be feeling better? Are they trying to stay functional and moving? I think everyone should be doing some sort of form of resistance training as well. And whether if you're at the bottom and you're starting really, really, at the bottom level, that's okay. Even if it's something as basic as sitting up and down from a chair, lifting some tuna cans up, if you don't use it, you basically you lose it. And muscle, having muscle mass is hugely important for longevity, for anti-aging, and for moving forward with a lot of things. So resistance training definitely in there as well. And I think minimum 1 day a week if you're for the age, and then upping it to 2 to 3 as a minimum, and more if they want to. But I think hitting that 2 to 3 for the resistance training is important as well. But move lots.
Thanks, Jess. Paloma, is there anything you want to add? I mean, I guess we always think of the external, but it's always also what's going on in the inside that impacts our health massively.
Look, absolutely. And it's hard to tell. She could be 63 and be doing triathlons. As a woman that trains with me, she's 65 and she's qualified for the Australian triathlon. Or she could be sedentary. So it's hard to tell. But looking from the look of food, he looks pretty healthy. So his mom probably is healthy as well, hopefully. I would a woman that's postmenopausal, and at 63 she would be postmenopausal unless it's a complete outlier that she hasn't had menopause at that age. Women actually start losing, because of the hormonal shift and the lowering of estrogen, dramatic change in our estrogen progesterone level and testosterone level, because we obviously produce less testosterone. Almost every single person past really the age of 35 starts losing muscle strength and muscle mass, about 1 to 3% a year, depending on their genetics. Past menopause, that actually becomes a lot quicker because you don't have estrogen, you don't have testosterone as much as you used to anyway. So if she's been on hormone replacement therapy, that is a great thing, because that could help her. That actually helps counteract a number of age-related problems, because you're actually putting things in your body that you are lacking, hormones that are lacking. So resistant training would be one of the most important things for women of menopausal and postmenopausal age, because they lose that. And once you lose muscle strength and muscle mass of between 1% and 3% a year, you need to add 1% to 3% a year to make sure that you're even at the same level. And if you're lower than the level that you should be, then you've got to gain a lot more than that. And believe me, that is very hard to do. And as we all know. So that would be very, very important, because when you lose muscle mass, you also are much more prone to osteoporosis, because the muscles are not there to hold on to your bones and strengthen your bones, and you're more prone to falls and breaks, etc. But equally, I would say that VO2 max is one of the most important gauges of longevity. So if your VO2 max is, you don't know your VO2 max, I suggest that you either get a test done or calculate it yourself. And there's lots of places that have opened up now that you can actually measure that. And improving your VO2 max through aerobic exercise and high intensity training would be one of the best gauges and best ways of actually reducing the all-cause mortality, and also improving and increasing your health span and lifespan. So those are the two things that I would probably kind of expand on, I guess, on what Jess said.
Great. Thank you, ladies. Thank you. What's the next one? Let's have a look. So we've got Bron in the Wild. What are your thoughts on tap water consumption? Most Australian states have fluoride in the water. Is it worth buying spring water, water filter, etc.?
I actually had a very bad experience today where I left the tap on, unfortunately, in my pond, and my goldfish died too much chlorine.
Oh, no.
I stupidly forgot to turn off the tap. So yes, 100% our water, as nice and as clean as our water is, it's very, very important to have a really good water filter, because, and I would even suggest a water filter for the whole house, because fluoride, chlorine, etc., not just affect your skin and your body, but it also affects your health. So people that actually do have proper filters, their hair, they find that their hair loss is a lot less, their skin is not as dry. But I would also add to that, not just the water filters. I probably wouldn't buy spring water, because they generally come in plastic bottles. And because they've been transported through heat and cold, you've got all the microplastic issues on top of the fact that we have microplastics in the water. And it's also expensive. So water filter would be a much, much more optimal solution. And also air filters, because we forget about air quality, and there are particulates in the air that you can actually look up. There's websites that tell you the particulates in the air at the time, what they are. There's two in particular to look out for. And if they are beyond a certain point, you really need to be wearing a mask. And bushfires are one of the worst causes of some of these particulates that are completely carcinogenic. So putting a filter at home for your water, but also air filtration, I think is especially in areas where they've got a lot of bushfires, or closer to the city areas where there's a lot of pollution, or on main roads, would be a very, very wise investment. And I believe the new Teslas Ys have air filters in them, which is fantastic as well.
Oh, great. Yeah, that's really cool. Thanks, Paloma. Jess, did you want to add anything there?
Absolutely. I'm a total water snob. So when I travel overseas and I drink bottled water, I'm like, yes, definitely. I agree with everything Paloma said. I have a 7-stage osmosis reverse water filter on my house. So it takes everything out, puts everything that I want back in. It tastes amazing. When you compare it, when I go back to having to drink water from somewhere else, you can totally notice the difference. I feel better. My body feels better on that. I also have a hydrogen water bottle as well that I use. I think just, the nanoplastics, even if the closer you are to the city as well, like just the paint breaking down in the air from the sun, all of these things, we're breathing it in, we're breathing it in. again, our body is having to purge all this stuff out, you know, and if we're always overloading it with all of this junk and all of these toxins and these microplastics, we're overloading our body's capacity to get rid of it quick enough. So then we've got all these free radicals always flowing around in our body, right, waiting for our body to push it out. Water is super important. We are made up of a lot of water, and we should be drinking a lot of water. I think a lot of people don't drink as much water as they should either, for their body's needs, dehydrated and whatnot. So absolutely, definitely recommend water filters, especially for people in the country. They drink a lot of rainwater, and, you know, when people are spraying their crops, you know, it's in the air, it travels a lot further than we think it does. It's going to settle into your gutters, and, you know, then that's going to wash into your rainwater, and you're drinking it. Like, you're drinking poisonous water. So please, as well, if you're on rainwater, I recommend getting filtered water. Don't be drinking it.
Absolutely. Thanks, ladies. Thanks, Bron, as well. See if there's another one that comes through. So we've got Sandy. Great work, girls. Thank you, Sandy. My cue is, what is a safe natural drink or herbal tablet to help me sleep at night? Paloma?
Hello, Sandy. How are you? There's magnesium. So we work on people with sleep. We generally get them to purchase an Oura ring, which then gives you pretty good indication of what your deep sleep, your REM sleep, etc. are. So you can then incorporate these interventions, and then you can see basically the data the next day to see whether those things have affected your sleep. So it's really, really important to have some sort of a gauge for how you're sleeping. Subjectively, you can get up and say, I feel great, but it's better to actually see, well, my deep sleep has been this much and I've improved it, or my REM sleep has been this much and I've improved it. That's what we want. So for starters, investing in a device that will be able to tell you that is important, so you can actually see whatever you're putting in place is working or not working. So, and everybody's different. But in terms of sleep, I would we've had a lot of success with magnesium glycinate and magnesium citrate. Most people don't have enough. In fact, 51% of the American population are low in magnesium, and the requirements for women is generally 300 to 400 milligrams. But when they're doing heavy workouts, it's higher. So it's better to take it in 2 dosage, because your body can't process that much magnesium in one go. So what we recommend is having, you know, half the dose in the morning, half the dose before bed. That tends to work very well. I've actually checked it on myself with my Oura ring, and it definitely helps with that. There's certain peptides that also help. So that's a different gauge. With having herbal tea, I would probably have it not too close to sleep, because you then tend to get up and go to the bathroom. That can disrupt your sleep. So not eating about 2 to 3 hours before going to bed, that definitely helps, because therefore your body is not digesting and you don't have that spike in glucose level to stop you from going to sleep. So that's something that you can do. And more importantly, a lot of people have coffees and teas close to bedtimes or in the late afternoon. Even if you're a fast metabolizer of coffee and tea or caffeinated products, really the half-life of coffee and tea is still 8 hours. The full life is probably about 12 hours. If you're a slow metabolizer or a medium metabolizer, which is 2/3 of the population, that it can be up to 16 hours from when you consume the actual coffee. So if you have a coffee at 9 o'clock in the morning and you go to bed at 9 o'clock at night, that is still like having a little espresso. So it's very, very important to kind of time your caffeinated drinks. That will definitely help. So that's, and of course, if you have the capacity to using a hot sauna, I'm talking not infrared, but actual sauna, like the traditional Finnish sauna, that also there's a lot of papers that also show that it helps with sleep. So it actually really does help. And we've seen it with a lot of our clients as well, where their sleep improves.
Great. Thanks, Paloma. Jess, hope you don't mind. I'm going to move into the next one because I am mindful of time. We'll go into the next question. Please, Ryan, in the background there. There's another one. 2 seconds. I'll just look in the comments box. Great. I think, was that the last of our cues?
I think the time is up anyway, Tracy, so maybe.
I think it is. Thank you so much, ladies. Thank you for all you shared. Like I said, I know we could chat for days. There are a few comments in the comment section as well. Have a look at those. But yeah, as discussed, for our viewers, we'll probably be running this every 6 to 8 weeks and looking at different topics. I know something super insightful we didn't touch on is actual hormones and how that impacts everything. So perhaps that could be our next session as well. Paloma and Jess, thank you so much for your time and for all you shared as well.
Thank you.
Thanks, ladies. Bye.
Thanks, everyone, for being here.